Hi, everyone. It's me again. Wendy's not here. This is a figment of your imagination.
Oh, it's some of ghost
You're
floating.
so yellow.
I know. I haven't got my nails done. I'm yellow. We're open in South Carolina. Woohoo!
So,
Yay.
I'm sorry. Bill Fairman, Carolina Capital Management. Wendy Sweet, Carolina Capital Management.
With her nails done.
Thank you so much for joining us. Our website is carolinahardmoney.com. As you know, we lend all over the Southeast.
Yes, we do.
Mostly here.
For the most part.
But all over the Southeast. So if you're a borrower looking to get more information about what we do, carolinahardmoney.com, click on the borrower tab.
That's right.
If you're someone looking for passive income and you want to get on the banking side of things, lending your money out versus borrowing money.
We have a deal for you.
Yeah, click on the investor tab. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, all that.
Tell your
stuff.
friend kind of thing. Right? That's right.
So we got a great show today.
Yes, we do.
You want to introduce everyone?
I could.
Okay. Leave Scott out because he won't be in until later.
Yeah. So we've got Scott Myers, who isn't here. He'll be here at 1:30. He had another great thing to do, right?
Yeah, well, not as great as ours.
We have Fernando Angelucci. Did I get that right?
Angelucci.
Okay. I guess I should have used my, when I said that, with Titan Wealth Group. And then we also have Jacob Vanderslice with Van West Partners. These are great storage guys.
Don't forget, Jonathan is hanging out.
Oh, yeah.
In the corner over there. We're trying to social distance.
Yeah.
We have him locked up in the office on the other side of the building.
He was a bad boy. That's right. That's right. What are you looking at me for?
All right, let's get this train wreck started. We love the self-storage space. Back in another life, when I was doing commercial mortgage loans for a very large commercial banker, I did a lot of self-storage loans.
You're not going to name drop now? You did it in the last one.
If you joined us for our earlier show, I did some name dropping accidentally on purpose. So with that, I did my best to try and poke holes in the business. And the only thing I could ever come up with was if you have a self-storage facility and you get somebody that pays you in advance for 6 months and gives you a fake ID, and then they load your storage unit up with hazardous waste material. And then they never pay again, and you go to lock it up and
you have to remove it.
Then it's up to you to remove it, and then you're stuck with the cost of removal.
Yeah. So Bill's nickname at home is Debbie Downer, just so you know.
I have to do everything I can because I'm a glass half empty guy.
He is half empty, I'm telling you.
The likelihood of that happening is pretty minuscule.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't know.
All right. So.
I don't know. Has that ever happened to either of you guys?
It has.
Oh, no.
So I
Tell
bought
me about that.
Well, I guess we didn't buy it, but we went under contract on a facility. And when we started opening doors, we found out that 6 or 7 of the sheds were filled to the roof with old used tires.
Oh.
So, yeah. The quote we got to get them removed wasn't too bad. I think it was like $2,500, but yeah, it can happen.
Yeah. Wow.
You could have gone into the tire swing business.
Yeah.
Or you put them at the end of driveways, halfway buried, and paint them white.
And plant flowers in them. They're real pretty.
Yeah, there you go.
You get a lot of that in our area, right?
That's right.
So, Jacob, let's talk about size and scope of facilities and areas. Where are you located with most of your properties, and the size of the facilities?
Yeah, we're located in a variety of different states. We're in Colorado, of course. We've got 5 facilities here. We're in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin market. We're in the Florida Panhandle market, Pensacola, Panama City. We got 2 deals just outside Charlotte, North Carolina, and we're under contract on 2 new deals in Milwaukee a new deal in Chicago, Illinois, and then a 2-property portfolio in Memphis, Tennessee. And we've got 1 small facility in Des Moines, Iowa. And they range in size from about 28,000 feet to up to 115,000 feet. Our sweet spot's typically between 40 to 60, somewhere in there. So we've got some small ones and some big ones, but most of them are in that size range of the 40 to 60.
So any particular reason for those areas? Or is it the number?
Sure. We focus on submarkets with low supply ratios, first of all. Self-storage is, supply and demand is very localized. So you can't, for example, say that one specific market is oversupplied. Like Denver is kind of a poster child for oversupply, but there's still pockets that make sense. So we'll track the 1, 3, and 5 mile trade radius and typically try to target facilities that have a per square foot supply ratio per capita of under 7 square feet. And then also the nuts and bolts of good demographics, good incomes, good wage growth, population density, rooftops, stuff like that. With the exception of Illinois, because we like the deal a lot, it comes with a portfolio and there's an owner carry involved. We try to avoid states that are kind of difficult to do business in and states with declining populations. But beyond that, just normal supply and demand demographics and supply ratios.
Awesome.
Wow, and you still have one in Chicago you're looking at. I'm just
Somehow we do, yeah. It's
just messing with you.
I know. It comes with our Milwaukee deal, and we were able to negotiate a 70% owner carry for the whole portfolio, non-recourse, 4% on the rate with 2 years of interest only and 5-year maturity.
Wow,
that's pretty good.
We like the submarket there. We like the demographics. We like the income streams the facility produces, but obviously Illinois is a great place, but it does have its set of problems.
So you folks that are watching, by the way, you can ask any of the guest questions as well. And just so you know, it's a lot like single family where you can probably get some seller carrybags. The vast majority of acquiring properties are going to be the mom and pops, right? And a lot of these people are willing to do some seller financing.
Mm-hmm.
Fernando, you have similar ways of looking at property and types. Tell us about the properties you have and where they're located.
Yeah, so we look at the same underwriting data that Van West does. I mean, it's pretty standard in the industry, 1, 3, 5 mile trade areas. We look at supply index ratios, job growth, population growth. He actually has a lot of properties in in our markets as well. So we primarily market to 24 states. It's the Midwest. So we have 9 states in the Midwest, and then the additional 15 states outside of the Midwest are all low tax states. And we also like to focus on submarkets with, really good pockets. We're looking for job growth. Number one, that's always going to drive almost everything else. We want job diversity as well, making sure that we're not relying on one major employer for the entire market. And what we're looking for is we've kind of started shying away from the properties that are 40,000 square feet and below. We've primarily started wholesaling those. So I actually have 6 available for wholesale right now. And then now we're focusing on properties in the 50 to 60, all the way up to about 120,000 square foot range. So we do a lot of ground up builds as well as conversion projects to sell off to the REITs. But the main focus is on cash flowing assets that, we walk into positive cash flow day one with a value add component.
Huh. I'm always wondering who the avatar is that you're renting to. I'm one. I'm guilty.
Mm-hmm.
I have a storage shed that I put all my Airbnb stuff in. I know Bill has one because he'd have to have a whole nother house to have all the junk.
Yeah, my wife's just a hoarder.
Bill, don't you have 2?
Yeah. He owns a whole storage facility, and
he rents one. He doesn't.
But when I first rented the one that I did, because to me, I'm thinking, man, I've got a barn at my house. Why am I having to rent a storage shed? But it's nice to keep all the little critters out of it. That helps. But when I was signing up for this storage facility, there was a woman in there making a payment on a unit that she's had for 17 years. She's been paying $50 a month for 17 years.
Wow.
I mean, that's unbelievable to me.
Sometimes your $500 worth of junk is hard to get rid of.
It's amazing to me. So Jacob, I'll let you be first. Who's your avatar? Who's your borrower? Who's your person that's renting?
Yeah, that's storage in a nutshell. There, you hit the nail on the head. For example, I have a storage unit in one of our buildings, and the stuff I keep in there is family heirloom furniture that I don't want in my house, but it's got sentimental value, and I don't want to get rid of it. So I keep my summer gear, my winter gear, and the off season in there, skis, bikes, camping equipment. And I'll probably have that storage unit for years to come. And I'm guessing that in not a lot of time, I will spend more rent than the stuff is worth. So that's kind of one example of the type of customer we get. We get a lot of small business users as well. Electricians, plumbers, people who need to store dry goods and they don't have the space to put it somewhere. And obviously people moving. And typically, I'm sure you see the same thing, Fernando. A lot of folks are going to think they're going to need their storage unit for 2 months, and 2 months turns into 9. And if you do a rate increase on them of $5 or $10, chances are they still don't want to go take a weekend to move their stuff out and put it somewhere else. And it's kind of out of sight, out of mind.
Right.
They're paying every month. And if you do the math, it doesn't take a lot of time before you could just buy new stuff.
Right.
That's not a lot of folks' mindset for sure.
Right. Wow. What about you, Jacob?
No, you just had Jacob.
Oh, sorry.
Fernando.
Yeah, when I keep it short, to keep it short, usually what we say is we service people in transition, right? So it's either someone that is moving or coming, maybe they're upgrading in size of their house, or they're downgrading in size of their house. And like you guys already have mentioned before, every time we get calls, we always ask them, how long do you think you'll be staying? It's always 2-3 months, that'll be it. And we've had facilities where we found tenants that have been paying for 10, 15, 20 years. Sometimes we'll actually have facilities that those tenants didn't even realize that they were still paying on those facilities, just on an auto debit or auto credit from the credit card.
Right. We have a younger brother that has a landscape business, and he, I think, rents places to park his trucks, his trailer, and keep his equipment in. And his guys meet there every morning, go through what they need, and then go off for the day. So I think Jacob had mentioned about a lot of small businesses do that. It's a great option for that, really.
I'm also thinking that areas of the country that are heavy in the homeowners associations, where you can't park anything extra
right
in their driveway or yard. So boat and RV storage would be great. So
yeah,
I'm assuming, especially in the Florida, every neighborhood in Florida has got a crappy homeowners association. Where the president was always picked on in high school, and now he's got power.
Yeah. So is that something, Jacob, that you're looking for when you're looking at buying a facility? Are you also looking at the parking availability for boats and RVs and things like that?
Yeah, we have a variety of facilities with a boat and RV parking component. We have a lease up project right now in New Berlin, Wisconsin, which is just outside Milwaukee. And we've got a bunch of semi-truck RV type size spaces on the outside of the facility. And I think only 2 of those are vacant right now. And they lease for about $100 a month. So that's a really good way to augment your income stream. And you virtually have no cost on that because it's just pavement and some striping. So that definitely has helped kind of boost our top line revenue on a couple different locations.
That's amazing. How about you, the other Jacob? Fernando, how about you?
Yeah, so one of the data components that we have of our business, we will specifically go look for those hot spots, those areas that are completely filled with HOAs, where they do not allow any type of parking on their driveway or in front of their house for these larger vehicles. And we'll target those areas. We actually, we own a boat and RV storage location in Iowa, just outside of Des Moines. And that's all it is. There's no storage sheds in there. It's only boats and RVs, and it's great. I mean, just like Jacob said, there's really no work needed. It's just a gravel lot, a couple acres.
What town is it, Fernando?
It's in Altoona.
Altoona. Okay. Yep. Yeah, we've got one in Ankeny.
Oh, okay. Yeah, not too far.
Never heard of any of them.
Yeah.
That's right.
They're all suburbs of just suburbs of Des Moines.
Yep.
Nice. Jonathan, you got anything?
No.
I'd like to go back on.
Wait, Fernando was going to actually say something.
Yeah, so I wanted to expand upon what Jacob said about the commercial tenants. We love commercial tenants, and usually when we go into a facility that's a heavy value add, that's maybe 40 or 50% occupancy, the very first marketing push we do is to push to these commercial tenants. And the reason why is when you look at the demand drivers or who's actually renting your facilities, although commercial tenants usually only account for about 17 to 18% of your entire client base, they usually will stay on average about 25 to 26 months. That's their average length of stay. Whereas when you look at a typical residential tenant, which is going to be accounting for about 70% of your client base, on average, they're staying for maybe 13 months, 13 to 12 months on average. So we really like the commercial tenants. One of the things with the commercial tenants too is that they'll usually rent multiple units at one given time. So it's always helpful that way, and we can always rely on their payments. They usually will make large payments, pay a couple months in advance every time they come and make payments. So
That's awesome.
yeah, we really like those clients.
So with what's going on today, the COVID scare, everybody flipping out. How do you think that's going to affect what you do? How's that going to affect the, who your tenant is? And how's it going to affect the due diligence that you do on any future properties that you're looking at, Jacob?
Yeah, that's a great question. Fernando mentioned this earlier on the call, but we're doing the same thing that he is. And we're focusing on acquisitions right now that have stronger in-place cash flow. They still have a value creation component, but if we're not able to create the value that we think we can, the in-place cash flow still creates a good return for our investors. So we're not as focused now on deals with low occupancy. We're definitely more flying to safety and quality and size than we are upside right now. So we've definitely shifted our acquisitions methodology there. And again, Fernando, to your point, a small deal takes as much time, if not more time, to execute than a bigger deal. And we'd rather make an 8% return on a bigger basis than a 10% return on a tiny basis. So we're definitely focusing on larger facilities. Our next round of acquisitions are quite a bit bigger than we've had in our portfolio in the last 6 to 9 months. In terms of how it's affecting the performance of the portfolio, industry-wide, Q1 was pretty anemic. There wasn't a lot of revenue growth or net rental activity, and I think that's more to do with seasonality than it is anything else. We're encouraged by what we're seeing in the month of April, and as we're getting towards the end of May, we're seeing good positive occupancy growth. Our customer occupancy rates are in line with what they normally are this time of the month and in prior months, so we're not seeing a big increase there. But that's something that we're very concerned with as unemployment increases, the depth of this crisis increases. We're worried about people's ability to simply pay their bills. But in storage, the granularity of the revenue streams feels good. One example I often use, we have a lot of retail in Denver, unfortunately, and that's not going well right now because they're all basically shut down. But we have a brewery paying us $15,000 a month. And our average storage customer paying us, $100 to $150 a month. So it's a lot more of a bite-sized income stream, and you're relying on your income stream to be paid by thousands of people as opposed to several. And we like that piece of it. But we're concerned. We're not stopping buying, but we're definitely focused more on acquisitions that have in place cash flow and good returns without doing much different.
Huh.
Well, one of the benefits of having those little small increments of income coming in is that if you lose a couple of them, it doesn't hurt your bottom line nearly as much as it does your $15,000.
Yeah, that customer or that tenant either pays or he doesn't, and if he doesn't, you got a big problem. If you have a couple storage customers roll over on you, you can put somebody new in there pretty quickly.
Yeah. Automation. I know.
Well, you're going to let Fernando answer that question?
Oh, I'm sorry, Fernando. There was a question in there. I'm not sure what it was because I jumped in. But would you like to follow up?
With your market, how do you see it affecting your market?
Yeah, so we've actually have been experiencing great occupancy. Over the last 10 weeks, our occupancy has actually been increasing. Our default rate has trended at the same amount as a percentage basis as it has in the past. One of the things that we've been doing is staying on top of it, in front of the issue, making sure that we're calling all of our tenants and, talking to them, saying, hey, what's going on? We're here to help. What are you seeing on your side? Do you still have a job? Are you still gonna be able to pay? And that's been really helpful to place some people on payment plans. Because the second they go dark, that's when you start having an issue. And I would much rather just work something out with somebody than just de facto schedule an auction.
Right.
Another thing that we do is every tenant that moves in, we ask them why they're moving in. And we've actually gotten an increase in the amount of clients that are reporting that they're downsizing as a reason for using the self-storage facility. And I think that's because directly of the fallout from COVID. People are not being able to afford their rents and not being able to afford their mortgages. And they're looking to go from maybe a 1,200 or a 2,400 square foot place down to a 1,200 square foot place, and then just go rent 100 square feet on the side at one of our facilities. So things have been great for us. As far as the loan side, it's been exceptional. A lot of the bankers I keep in touch with just to see what's going on and make sure I keep them abreast of any new deals that we have coming in the pipeline, just so that we can still execute in a 45 to 60 day close period. And we've been getting phenomenal offers from our lenders on the ground up deals. We just got a term sheet last week at 75% loan to cost. That's on a $12 million build that we're doing in the suburbs of Chicago. And that's at a 4% interest rate with 36 months interest only. So the loans we're getting on the ground up deals, which you'd think would be the more risky of the two, have been phenomenal. On the cash flowing side, like Jacob said, we have banks that are reaching out looking for a product. Probably in the last 2 weeks, I've been contacted 3 or 4 different times from guys I've worked with in the past saying, hey, do you got any deals for us? We have a lot of stuff in our portfolio that's not performing well, like hotels or office space, and we need something to shore it up. And self-storage has always operated really well when you look at the last 30 years of data, specifically during recessions. It does extremely well. So the bankers are on that side. I have a life insurance company that I'm working with right now to give me a portfolio loan on 5 to 7 of my properties. And that's at 70% loan to cost, 25-year amortization. I have the option of either taking it fully amortized or I can do a 10-year balloon. And that's at 3.8% interest, non-recourse.
That's really, really good. Now,
Yeah.
Are they allowing you to bring some gap funding for the difference? Or are they requiring you put your own cash into some of that? I want both of y'all to answer that question. Go ahead, Fernando.
Yeah. So with that life insurance loan, it's part of one of our strategies. I was talking with Bill earlier. We have local lenders that give us up to 100% financing on our deals that have strong appraisals. But because they're a local lender, we get tapped out at 12 to 18 million. So every time we hit that 12 to 18 million, we'll actually bring a life insurance company in. They will refinance that entire portfolio. So we'll actually walk away from that loan with maybe $3 or $4 million in cash.
Wow.
Nice. Tax-free.
Yeah, that doesn't suck. How about you, Jacob? What's your financing? What are your different financing opportunities for that?
I gotta get a hold of some of Fernando's bankers here.
Yeah.
They're good, but they're not that good. We're typically financing our deals at 8% loan to cost. We're getting about 4 to 4.25% on the rates. A lot of lenders have hit floors lately, regardless of how low rates have dropped. They just can't go much lower. So 4 is about the best we're seeing. We're typically getting 1 to 2 years of interest-only financing on the front of the project, and our maturity dates are anywhere from 7 to 10 years on a 25-year amortization.
Wow.
Maybe a quarter point in origination fees.
Mhm.
So pretty good debt terms for sure. And that interest-only period helps with cash flow a lot.
Absolutely, especially if you're having to do some value add stuff to it on the front end. That helps out.
Now, are you allowing investors to come in and invest with you? Do you have some sort of syndication set up, or are you allowing them to do the gap funding? How do you have that set up?
Yeah, we've got a couple different structures. We raise capital for single purpose entities that own one facility, and we also have a fund. Generally, we're doing an 8% preferred return, pay down of capital accounts, and then 70-30 split in their favor thereafter. We'll bring in chunks of equity between $50K to $1 million, kind of ranging in between there. A fair amount of self-directed IRA capital. So yeah, that's overall how we're structured.
Awesome. How about you, Fernando?
Yeah, we're doing something that's pretty similar. So for our single purpose entities, we're bringing in usually retirement money or 1031 money. And then for our funds, we're bringing in usually smallest checks are about 50,000. Larger checks are in the $1 to $2 million range. We pay a 6% preferred return with a 50-50 split on the back end.
Wow. And what's the term on what's the length of the term on that?
Yeah, so it depends on your risk profile. So if you're somebody that is really just wants to see equity growth or equity multiple, we'll usually put you into our heavy value add deals or our ground up developments. Those are usually going to be return of capital within 36 to 60 months. But then we've also had a lot of requests from investors that just want long-term cash flow and don't have to keep worrying about taking the profits and putting it into another deal. So our income fund, our self-storage income fund, that's a 10-year fund with a goal of returning all the capital within 5 to 6 years. And then the remaining 4 to 5 years is just, I guess, free cash flow, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, we like that. Free cash flow.
Yeah.
Fernando, while you're up there, I know you've got some training programs that you've been putting out. We've got a question from Carlos.
Let's wait, Carlos. We're going to hold off on your question until Scott shows up because I'd like to get the opinion on everybody on this question.
Yeah, he does training too.
Yeah.
So never mind.
So let's talk about the different facilities and your different automation. I know, Fernando, we talked about some of your facilities earlier and the different automation. Kind of go with us for those who weren't on that part of the show, the different automations that are available at your facilities and how people can rent, leave, buy extra stuff, all with their phone.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So depending on the size of the facility and the sophistication of the market, we kind of have a spectrum. So the very first thing that we do is when we go into a new facility, we'll put in a robust property management software. It's either going to be a StoreEdge or a SiteLink. That property management software allows our tenants to not only rent units from their computer, but it also allows them to rent units from their phone, sign leases on their phone. They can take a photo of their ID and send it along with that. As you kind of start going up into the level of sophistication, then you have, keypad entry and exit, that it's a controlled access to the facility. You have to type in your code to get in and out so that we can track you in the facility, how much time you've spent in there. Another level up from that is we put these kiosk systems. They kind of look like ATMs, either in the wall or standalone, where potential tenants or current tenants can pick a unit. They can get video support. They can pay with cash, credit, or or check. They can also purchase locks and additional services, moving supplies, what have you. And then, going all the way to the top level, you start looking at some of the no key systems. What these do is they allow you to not only get in and out of the main gate, but through the various security doors, and then even get to your main unit and open your unit just using a button on your phone.
Wow.
Those systems are a little bit more expensive. They're in the $200 to $300 a door range. So those only usually make sense when you're going and you're creating a multi-story Class A REIT grade facility with either the long-term plan of either holding it for cash flow or selling it off to one of the big boys.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a lot of money per door. That's more money per door than it costs to rent most units.
Right. And there's discounts that come along with volume, but just on average, when you talk to, say, like Janus, they're going to be quoting you probably around $200 to $300 a door for their no-key system.
Wow. Jacob, what about you?
Yeah, it's funny. Most of mine and Fernando's answers are the exact same. So
you both on.
Yeah, it really depends on the facility. The majority of our facilities in our fund, for the most part, are non-climate controlled drive-up units. And because of that, we found we don't have to staff them with a full-time person, like a traditional storage facility where somebody's answering the phone in the wood-paneled office with the fern in the corner. They can lease a unit online, make their payment online, get their gate code information online, move in. The facilities that we're not running remotely completely are higher quality institutional grade facilities. If you have a 60,000 foot newer construction deal that's all climate controlled, bad things tend to happen if you don't have a full-time staff member there during business hours. It could turn into a multifamily deal pretty quickly. So for the most part, we remote manage our smaller non-climate controlled facilities, and then we're staffing our bigger ones with the same automation stuff that Fernando went through a second ago.
Awesome. Let's talk about your multifamily units that you've got. So, Jacob, what do you do when you've got someone living in there? I mean, it happens, right?
It does happen, and that's been a challenge for us, mainly in our urban infill locations, specifically in Denver. We haven't seen much of that in the other markets that we're in, but Denver's definitely got an issue with that.
It's because they're all stoned.
It's people will move in, right before the facility closes and pull the garage door down and set up camp. And we have security patrols that come through every night. Probably get a few calls a month late at night on stuff that's going on. We don't have any major war stories there, but that's definitely a problem within urban infill self-storage.
Yeah, I can just see them doing a campfire in the middle and plumes of marijuana smoke coming out.
Yeah, we bought a new office building about a year and a half ago, and we put office upstairs and self-storage downstairs, and the loading dock door was open. And there was a pizza guy sitting outside of it, kind of looking around confused. And it turned out that somebody had set up a mattress in their unit and ordered pizza delivery to the So, yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
that's funny.
Life in the big city.
Yeah, a little bucket for your honey pot, and you're good to go.
Yep.
My first thought was you're in a storage unit that's probably not climate controlled.
Which way you need the campfire?
How do you keep warm in Denver? Sleeping in your
Well, the one I'm talking about in Denver is climate controlled, but the industry standard for the temperature range for climate control is pretty wide. It's like 55 to 85 degrees, and as long as the temperature is somewhere in that range, you're climate controlled. So not the most comfortable sleeping environment on a hot or cold night, but
hey, you're not going to get hypothermia at 55.
Yeah.
How about you, Fernando? You have any multifamily units in yours?
So it's funny. I had this is the first time it happened to me. We were buying a facility. Bill, actually, we were talking about that one on the previous call, the one in Hampton, Tennessee, and the day after we closed on the property, someone sends me an article saying like, "Oh, good thing this isn't you." And it was just an article about a local man living in a unit with a baby. And so I'm scrolling down. I'm like, man, I'm glad this is not me. And then all of a sudden it says Hampton Storall. I'm just like, oh, it is me. It is me. So what we've when we ended up opening up the facility, what we found was he had hooked up a Lazy Boy recliner, that power one. He's also hooked up a full fridge in there, and then a hot pad. So now our standard operating procedure when we go into these drive-up non-climate control facilities is if there's any power running to any of the units, we remove all of those conduits. So we don't even allow for even like a light bulb in the unit, because that can be rigged up to provide electricity. So that's standard operating procedure. Every time we buy a facility, we cut the power to everything except for the office.
Wow.
So in that case, I'm assuming that if there's somebody there that wants to do woodworking and stuff, because the wife's getting tired of hearing the screaming of the saws, you would set them up in a different section of the facility where the smaller businesses would be.
Right. Yeah. So we call those contractor units, and those will have dedicated power with its own meter. So the client pays their own electrical use.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean that they could still sleep in there too, but highly unlikely.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
One of the tips that we usually do is when we go into a new facility, we will go to the local police department and we'll offer them, 2 to 5 units at 50% off just for free security.
That's a great idea.
That way we got cops coming in and out of our units all the time. And, usually if you're up to no good and you see that, you're going to choose an easier facility to go hide out at, right?
That's a great idea.
I forget who it was that told me this. It might have been one of y'all. Somebody had a bunch of pots stored in their unit, and it was on an end unit by a fence right behind a Burger King, and a canine unit happened to let his dog out to pee. And of course, the dog went straight to the unit. And anyway, sheriff came in and confiscated it and arrested the guy. If you're going to store pot in your unit, make sure you're located in the middle of the facility.
That's the lesson.
It's a good safety tip.
Good lesson learned.
So, Jonathan, you got anything, or are you going to say not at this time?
No.
Well, I think I see Scott Myers trying to get in here, so I think maybe we should wait. Scott? Are you here?
I'm here, and I'm waiting for him to. I think he's here now.
I am here.
There he is.
I'm not sure that my camera's working, but I am here.
Well,
Awesome.
Your what is it? Your space marker looks great.
He's not. He's no longer here. He was in, and then he was not. Back. He's back.
Oh, now he's
there
back.
he is.
Jeez.
You have a wonderful avatar there, Scott.
Yeah, well, you know what? They say the camera puts on 15 pounds. So,
Scott, I don't know if you know the other participants in the call, but we have Fernando, and we also have Jacob with Van West. So,
yeah.
Good idea, Scott.
I came in here to undo all the lies that they've been telling.
Hey, Scott, I have to tell you that you did a presentation for our Collective Genius group, I don't know, maybe a year ago. And I told you then, I said, there's a Kmart that is on a main road here in Rock Hill that would be perfect for a storage facility. After you gave your presentation, I knew it would be just a perfect setup. You said, yeah, send me the information on it. And of course I didn't. And I drove by it, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. And guess what it is?
Yeah, go figure. Yeah.
it's a skating rink.
Yeah. That just made me sick. I thought, I can't even tell Scott this. I'm ashamed of myself.
Yeah. Well, now you just did it live in front of a whole bunch of folks. So now you know better.
I'm transparent.
Well, it's a good thing they didn't turn it into a large indoor gym or something.
That's exactly
Then
right.
it wouldn't be able to open.
That's exactly right.
Scott, your just in time for a question from the audience.
Perfect.
And so I'm going to start this with you. How did you decide the storage space was for you? How did you get started? And what suggestions do you have for someone interested in investing in that space?
Yeah, I decided to focus here because I had 80 houses and 400 apartment units, and I decided the tenant toilet business was not for me. There was not the free time, there was not the cash flow, and unlike the gurus on that side of the business said, you don't just hire a property management company and they wave a magic wand and all your problems go away and cash shows up in the mailbox. I decided not to slug it out and wait till everything was paid off and see how it all turned out. We decided I started looking into self-storage and just realized that, well, for all the reasons that we love self-storage, it does well during a recession, which is obviously very pertinent and timely right now. People don't pay, you lock them out and you sell your stuff off. And that right there alone was just music to my ears. It can't really destroy anything. It's a metal box on a concrete slab. So when we get it back, we take a blower, you blow it out, and you move in the next person waiting in line. So as you can imagine, for anybody that's a landlord out there, all of that is 180 degrees different than what it's like to be renting in residential real estate. So I'm not poo-pooing, that side of the business or anybody's business model. We made a lot of money in houses and apartments, but we looked at storage and, again, without all those challenges, but then also the wild swings that we have during, economic boom times and recessionary times, storage just outpaces all other asset classes. And it's not just myself and Jacob and Fernando saying that. I mean, the stats are out there. Well, people flock to it because they downsize. We've got people moving back home to work and they're putting their stuff in storage from the bedrooms, and businesses are downsizing, and it's just a good asset class. So from that standpoint, that was when we made the shift and then sold everything else off. And we're 100% in self-storage. There's a whole lot of folks that still in the business that have other asset classes, but this is our sole focus right now. We got started in a partnership. Myself and another gentleman both signed on a note for a facility. Ironically enough, that was going through a business partnership divorce. The two owners of the facility were getting a divorce from the business, from each other in the business, which we were the benefactor of that. But we both signed on the note, both put in the down payment, and then he bought me out later on, and then went out and did a number of facilities on my own. And now we're back to partnering, but more on the private equity side. So that's my start.
Nice. Jacob, how about you?
Similar start to Scott. We typically learn by doing deals. It's hard to learn any of this stuff in a book. Like, for example, Fernando's discussion about not installing electrical outlets in units. You just don't know that stuff until you go out and try it and do a few deals. And we get started with ground up development with some institutional partners. We like the strategy for the same reason Scott does. It's repeatable, it's scalable. The management platform is relatively simplistic. There's some technology around the industry now that there wasn't a couple years back that makes automation and efficiencies a lot more manageable. And it's defensible. And we'll see if that theory holds water as this crisis continues to manifest itself. But we've been waiting for this to happen for a long time, and it's finally here. And so far, it seems like things are performing fairly well relative to what's going on. But if you want to get started in the business, find a good broker and a good banker, and find a deal with good in-place cash flow, and buy it and figure it out.
I like that. Fernando, how about yourself?
So I'm gonna edit Jacob's term there. Don't find yourself a good broker. Find yourself a good wholesaler.
Yeah.
Get you some deals at some decent prices.
There you go.
But yeah, so I'm echoing both of their sentiments. Came from the single family and multifamily space in Chicago. I was pulling my hair out. I was tired of worrying that I was going to get shot every time I went to go look at my properties. So I actually met Scott like 5-6 years ago at the Indianapolis Real Estate Expo. And I sat during his entire presentation, and I basically walked up to him afterwards and I said, "Here's my credit card. Like, show me the way." Yeah, show me the way. So Scott was both my teacher and my mentor. I'm still a part of his mastermind group. And the way that I learned first was just going through the education side of it first, just to make sure I got everything down. But like Jacob said, you only learn about 20 to 30% from reading. You learn the other 70% from actually doing. So my first facility was a $970,000 facility about 2 hours away from my house. And we just operated that one for the entire first year. Didn't look at any other acquisitions. And after running that one for a year and learning these things like don't install electrical into units and, give cops a 50% discount so they get free security, then we felt really comfortable. And then in the subsequent 12 months, we bought another 7 facilities. None of them were within driving distance of me. So I would say to start, get yourself a good mortgage broker, find yourself, a good wholesaler / broker to start sourcing large deal volume to you. So you can pick the gems in the rough and then operate that facility in your local market for a solid, 1 or 2 business cycles or yearly cycles, if you will, so that you understand how it works, not from just reading it on paper, but from actually doing it. And then at that point, start looking to expand and increase the size of facility, the complexity of the deal, the locations. Some people live in areas where it's very difficult to buy properties. I have a bunch of friends that live in California, and looking at self-storage properties out there, I just tell them, unless you're willing to go somewhere else, you might as well just put your money in the stock market and watch that go away.
Same thing with houses, right?
Yeah. But yeah, that's what I did. And again, making sure that you're constantly surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than yourself. So masterminds are really great. Scott's mastermind has been, the information I've learned from that group, from all the, Scott, what's it up to? Maybe 100 people in there now?
Yeah, we're a little over 100 now.
A little over 100. It's great when you have all these different operators and owners, giving you their little 2 cents, these little ninja tricks that they've learned along the way, and it kind of expedites your learning.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we tell everyone is, if you find that you're the smartest person in the rooms that you're hanging out in, you're in the wrong rooms. You need to be with people who are smarter than you. There's no way to grow unless you're around those kind of people, that caliber.
That's exactly right. And you did say to find a good wholesaler, and I know why you said that is because you got a bunch of stuff to sell, but you had a good one with that too, which is, I know who you are and that you teach other people as well. And that's the key. You can't just, whether you're buying houses or storage facilities or whatever it is, you can't just, jump in with both feet and scream Geronimo and hope it works. You got to be smart about what you're doing. And it's, I love that everybody's talking about getting in with hooking up with other people that are in this business to be able to teach and learn from each other on that. So that kind of drives us back to Scott. And Scott, can you talk a little bit about your mastermind group and, how experienced do you need to be to get into it? And if you got to have experience, what's another way for them to get that experience to get into it?
And by the way, does your boot camp have a discount if the 3 of us show up?
Yeah.
Well, of course it does. Well, so, the mastermind, I guess, any entrepreneurial venture that any of us, embark upon is self-serving, correct? And, once I get into the business, what I wanted to do is then be able to put in the room other like-minded individuals. And as we mentioned earlier, people that are smarter than me. And so
iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, exactly. The coal burns hotter, or the fire burns hotter when the coals are closer together. And, we realized, when groups of people that are at the same level or higher, that aren't all just learning together, even though we're learning, but, are already successful in the business, that we can share resources, best business practices, as well as access to capital and deal flow. What Fernando may not like. I mean, he's a wholesaler by nature, but he started out by he got really, really good at marketing, and he finds deals that just doesn't fit his business model. They're too far away. They're too big. They're too small. Same thing with Jacob. And so rather than just letting them fall off the desk and into the trash, let's get together with some folks that may want it, and we'll get some wholesale fees or referral fees in the meantime, but then sharing resources. So that's really how it was born. And so we followed, truly the Napoleon Hill mastermind format, and we vet our folks very well. And so the price of admission, if you will, is experience. You got to be in the business. So we do have some folks that aren't owners, but they're brokers, and they've been brokering deals for years, and they know how to underwrite better than anybody in the room. And we also have some folks that are in the equity side of the business that aren't owners in self-storage, but they love to invest in self-storage. So they're the folks that represent the money side. And then we have consultants from time to time in the room as well. So that's, I guess that's the genesis of it. And that is what qualifies folks. It is not an educational event, although people do learn while we're there. But these are for the A players that are out in the business transacting on a day-to-day basis in the trenches. Gotcha.
So how does one learn? Tell me about your boot camp.
Yeah, so our academy that was born out of our home study system years ago, we put everything in my head onto paper so that I didn't have to go to lunch with somebody all the time who wanted to bend my ear and learn the business. And then I had enough people that they even expected me to pay for it, and so I said, "This is enough." So. Once folks got through that, then I guess we kind of got drug into the education side of the business. I still don't consider myself a guru, but I've rubbed shoulders with them, and we're on the guru circuit. I speak at lots of events, and so we started holding those 3-day academies to teach people about the business. But then the business took a turn, and we thought, well, we're going to take it up a notch, and the folks that we're teaching, we're going to give it all to them. We're not holding anything back. So that when they go out into the marketplace, then they become our soldiers, and they become wholesalers to us. And eventually they get into the business, and hopefully we can mastermind with them later on. So I don't want to say it's all self-serving, because we've created an awful lot of millionaires in self-storage along the way. But we just, we certainly hope that all of this is not in vain. It is our mission field to go out and teach people about it, so they don't go through the challenges I did in single family and residential. But, ultimately we want to build a group of folks that we can do business with, the second half of my life.
Right. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Fernando, you've got some programs that you're selling as well, right? Don't you have some training?
No. So I don't.
Better not,
really,
or else he's too on camera.
Yeah, so I don't sell any education of any kind. But what I do is when people reach out, I'm more than happy to hold their hand and walk them through a deal, as long as hopefully they wholesale it to me to acquire. Right. So my I guess education is more, when people learn about this, if they just need a helping hand along the way, just remember who helped you when you want to find a buyer for that deal, right?
That's right. That's right. How about you, Jacob?
We don't do any education either, but analyzing deals is fun, and we love helping people out. So anybody who wants to reach out anytime and run a deal by us, that'd be great.
That's awesome. We do the same when we're lending money. The thing that I think sets us apart from hard money lenders that I know is we train who we're working with, whether they're brand new or not. I can say personally, I've probably stepped in more poop than most people, and I'm really happy to share those experiences with other people so that they can avoid that. Plus, it makes them so much easier to work with when you've trained them and they're not making those mistakes. They're safer to deal with.
We don't have smell-o-vision.
Yeah, that's for sure. But that networking is, you can't beat that.
And every single broadcast that we do every week, we're always talking about networking and masterminding with people that have a giving mentality. The mentality of abundance. Those are the people you need to be around.
Right.
We're not doing
is that coming from the half glass empty guy? Or? Okay. Just making sure I understand.
Do you have anything to say over there in the corner? Part of why I bring this up is and I know all these folks that are on here, they do have a giving mentality.
Yeah.
I was fortunate enough to go to Baja, Mexico with Scott and his lovely wife and son, and we were down there building houses for a weekend. It was an awesome experience. I know somebody got a home, but I'm pretty sure I got more out of it than they did.
Oh yeah.
It really changes your life, and practically everyone that I'm acquainted with in CG has that same giving mentality. Same thing with Freedom Founders Group.
Yeah.
And those are the mastermind that you want to get involved with.
Yeah.
So, all right, we have a minute to go. So,
okay, see you later.
Scott, are you still doing the boot camps, or are they kind of virtual events right now?
Yes and yes. We have moved online for the time being, and I believe the business will change quite a bit going forward. We'll probably do fewer live ones and more online. So, still teaching and doing both, but online for now.
So, how does someone get information on that?
Yep. Selfstorageinvesting.com for all things self-storage, all resources that we offer, lots of freebies and everything about our events and the resources for folks looking to get into the business.
Excellent. And do you also have a fund where accredited investors can invest with you?
We haven't taken that route yet. We're getting ready to, but right now we're doing single asset, single entity LLCs where accredited and unaccredited investors can get engaged and invest in our projects just one at a time, and rather than in a big old fund like the other two. Okay,
so you do have some lending opportunities for people that kind of want to be they like the business, but they don't want to really get involved in it, right?
That is correct.
All right, excellent. Fernando, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, they can go to the website, thestoragestud.com.
Love it.
You can at me at any of the social media channels at the Storage Stud. That's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter. And then if you need help running through a deal, feel free to reach out to Scott or Jacob or myself, whichever one,
And you have investing opportunities as well for those who want to be passive, correct?
Yeah, so we have both opportunities for passive investors coming in on debt or as an equity investor. We also have opportunities for you to partner with us on the general partnership side. So if you have a property that you don't know how to operate, but you found the lead, we'll cut you into the partnership for that. And then we also have a bunch of wholesale opportunities for investors that just want to do it on their own.
Awesome.
Jacob? You also accept investments?
We sure are. Yeah, we're raising about $5 million in equity over the next 2.5 months for these new acquisitions. Go to our website at vanwestpartners.com. Hit me on LinkedIn. Whatever's easiest. I'm not on Facebook. I missed the social media bus, and I was waiting too long to get into it. So now I feel awkward if I made a Facebook account. But I do
It's never too late to be on Facebook. Ever.
That's right.
Just so you know, and this is my opinion, Facebook is a place where everyone's life is perfect, right? If you want to know the real poop,
ask their kids.
Go to YouTube.
There you go.
All right, listen, anyone needs information on borrowing for fix and flip or fix and hold properties, small bridge loans in the Southeast. Now, we do concentrate on North and South Carolina, but in the Southeast, you can go to carolinahardmoney.com, click on the borrower tab. We also have a fund, and we also have one-off opportunities available that people want to get on the lending side. Again, carolinahardmoney.com, but click on the investor tab. Don't forget to like and share and subscribe. Thank you guys so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you guys.
Thank you guys. We appreciate it.
You guys are awesome. Audience, thank you. We'll be back again next week. Same time, same channel.
Different people, though.
Jonathan will be more talkative then.
Yeah, that's right. Bill, you just do so well. I hate to interrupt you.
It's not the doing well. It's I won't shut up. Anyway, have a nice day. Thank you so much.
See you guys.
Bye, y'all.